the Harvey Barnes story feels like a bit of a knockout blow, really. No, knockout blow, maybe a stretch too far. A bit of a sucker punch, certainly a derailment of our transfer window strategy, certainly. That's, of course, if you've bought into the narrative that he was a genuine target for us. I think he probably is, actually. And the story is that he's going to Newcastle, in case you've been out this afternoon, and not for the 50 million either, by the way, that is reported. In fact, I recalled this at 20 past 3, on Sunday afternoon. It looks like the Daily Mail are just reporting that it could be as low as 25 million. Now, I'm pretty sure, as with anything on the internet, the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle between the 50 and the 25, but whatever. It doesn't seem like an unreasonable amount for a player who's got good Premier League pedigree and he scored 13 Premier League goals last season, didn't he? I just want to really try and figure out how much tied in this is to the other story that's sort of circulating today, and that is that the Declan Rice deal is being delayed. Declan Rice to Arsenal, the medical is being delayed, and as a result of that, so is the deal. Because the medical was meant to happen the tail end of last week, at latest this weekend, and now we're hearing at some point next week. It's not even like a promise in time next week, at some point next week. That coincides with a few sort of bit of leaked messages that we can't start spending until we get the Declan Rice money in. One of which said we're desperate for money, which doesn't sound too bloody good, does it? And so there's a lot of things that I want to touch on, really. I think, firstly, why are we desperate for money? I don't understand this. We got at least 3 owners who are billionaires, if you count Sullivan, Kretinsky and Tripp Smith. Why couldn't, if we were that desperate for Harvey Barnes, why couldn't they just front up the 30 million or whatever it might have been, and then cash that in, got that repaid back in terms of a non-interest loan, get it paid back when the Declan money comes in? Would seem like a sensible thing to do. I guess the obvious answer to that is that we weren't ever really in for Harvey Barnes. I'm not so sure on that one. I think it's easy to get upset with transfer rumours when they don't happen. A good one last season, Keane Lewis Potter. That was the guy, wasn't it? Keane Lewis Potter. And I know I've mentioned it before, but it looked like we were in for him. We never were actually in for him. And then when we didn't, there was a lot of disappointment when actually he ended up going to Brentford. But we were never actually in for him. There was no genuine interest in the player. I think this is not the case. There's a lot of validity to some of the reports on it as well, if you think that ex-West Ham United employee has reported on it. Darmesh has reported on it. Fabrizio Romano. They all said West Ham are interested in Harvey Barnes. And I think we are, and it sort of fits, doesn't it? Even if you don't believe all those sources, believe the evidence of your own eyes. Look at him play. He is a David Moyes type player. Gio's been saying it for a long time, best part of 18 months, I think, really, because he's very direct. He tracks back. He helps out. In many respects, he's the mirror of Jarrod Bowen in a lot of instances. So I certainly could believe that David Moyes wanted this guy. I believe that David Moyes wanted this guy and highlighted him. So I think on this one, we're not dealing with Moisey dithering here. I think this is the club's inability to get a signing over the line. And it may well just be, by the way, and I know someone, I'll tell you exactly what happened. There'll be someone from Newcastle who comes along in here and says, why would he sign for West Ham instead of Newcastle? I totally get it. But, and I do agree, Newcastle is absolutely the more illustrious club at the moment. That's the club you would go and join. They're on their way to being a super club with all their riches, right? And that's absolutely fine. I think my annoyance and my irritation is we never really tested it. We didn't test the water. We've waited until now. Why weren't we at the very start of the window there making a bid? Just make the bid, whatever it is. All the planets had aligned on this one. Leicester had got relegated. The player wanted to leave. He's got international ambitions. We'd just won a trophy. We knew we were going to sell a player, not just a player, English player. So it was good to bring in another English player because you've got to have your quota levels up. And we knew that money was going to come in this season. So why don't we just at the very start of the window make that bid? Now, it is quite possible that at that point, Newcastle might have come in and said, well, actually, what was it? I think it was 14th of June. Was that the start? I think that might have been the start of the transfer window. quite possible that at that point Newcastle come in and say, actually, we'll bid as well. It's quite possible that Newcastle just asked to be kept abreast of the situation, kept informed, in a way that Man City did with Declan Rice. Man City said to West Ham, let us know what's going on with Declan Rice, will you please, if a bid comes in. We did, and then they made their bid in the end. Arsenal bids higher, and the rest is history. Maybe, just maybe, at the start of the window, Newcastle said, keep us informed on Harvey Barnes. Possibly Newcastle didn't want to push it forward, and Newcastle don't see him as value as 50 million. I would get that. They got Sam Maximum there. I think he's an excellent player. Joe Linton sort of dislodged him from the team, hasn't he, for a bit. But also they've got Gordon, who's been playing false nine for England under 21s, but he can operate off both wings. Do Newcastle desperately need a left winger? No. So that's probably why they're thinking, well, we wouldn't mind him. We quite like him. Would we buy him 50 million? Not so sure. But I just would have liked us to have gone and tested it. Let's just see. Let's just see if we can get the player over the line. And actually, by demonstrating, by bidding early, we're showing we want him. Give him a decision to make. You've got to remember, at the start of the window, they've not sold James Maddison at that point. So they're in a little bit more of a comfortable position now, aren't they, Leicester? Whereas before they were just looking to bring some money in. They might have said, well, Barnes, we need you to go. And at that point, if Newcastle weren't sure, maybe just force him, give him a decision to make. Maybe, just maybe, he looks at it and thinks, I might not be able to force Joe Linton out of the team. Possibly Newcastle are going to sell Sam Maximum. I'd really like him as a player. Maybe they will. I'm not saying I want to see him rock up at West Ham. I would under a different manager, yes. I don't think there's any way that Sam Maximum can play in a David Moyes team, as much as I think he's a wonderful, wonderful player. But just maybe he would look at Joe Linton and he would look at Anthony Gordon being there and look at some of the other stuff and think, actually, I'll go and sign for West Ham. But give him a decision. Allow him to make a decision. So that's that bit. Just on the Arsenal bit, have we not bid because we haven't got the funds in from Arsenal yet? Well, okay. Okay, if that is the case, then again, that's a shame. What are we doing about this Arsenal stuff? We were willing to play hardball for enough time to insist upon it being over 100 million for Declan Rice. We were willing to play hardball for long enough to insist that they paid it over a short period. The 100 million had to be paid over 24 months or whatever the case may be. So we were quite resolute in our demands and sticking to our guns. So why aren't we doing that now? Where's our messaging to Arsenal saying, well, actually, we don't want to wait? And the other thing is, I think the shoe's on the other foot now, because all the way along you got this story that Declan Rice's team were upset because West Ham hadn't pushed the deal along. West Ham were holding the deal up because we hadn't accepted the bid. I do wonder if the other thing is going on now, the reverse is going on, that Declan Rice's team are basically saying to Arsenal, well, hold on, you're holding it up now. Where is the medical? The medical was meant to be tail end of last week. Now, I understand Declan might have, or may not have been in Ibiza, but I also understand he's back now. So why are we saying they don't know when it is? It's some point next week. I know, there's some people I've already seen suggesting that is it Arsenal punishing West Ham? Why would they? I don't know. But I do think that West Ham probably need to sort of stand up for themselves a little bit here. Because the reason, as I understand it, we didn't borrow money against Declan Rice leaving. So we didn't say to Daniel Kretinsky, actually, let's nick 50 I was going to say 50 quid. Let's nick 50 million of your money. Is because just in case we weren't going to sell Declan Rice. Now, if we were using that as a backup, and we were willing in negotiations to say, hold on, we might keep Declan Rice, we surely have to be prepared to do that now. Just to force it through. What sort of... Listen, don't get me wrong, I'd love Declan Rice to stay long term, only if he wanted to be here. What sort of Declan Rice we get back now? I don't know. His head will have completely been turned, there's no doubt about it, and his heart, I'm pretty sure, is in North London rather than East London. But I think West Ham have to be prepared to say, well, hold on a second, we're not going to do the registration, we're not going to do this because you're scuppering our transfer window. Now, I would understand West Ham doing that. I think West Ham should do that. I think Arsenal are playing silly buggers with it, actually, as well. But I also think West Ham have got to be... It's just a real shame. Are we honestly that skint? Are we that poor that we don't have enough money to fund our own transfer spending? Well, it appears not. But look, a lot of people were saying it last season. You read it in the comments last season. A lot of people last season, when we spent £200 million, people were saying, we're spending the Declan Rice money now. This is what's happening. We're spending the Declan Rice money early. Maybe that is the case. Maybe it is. Maybe it was just we spent this season's transfer budget and last season's transfer budget all in one go, and the Rice money is stuff on top. But it doesn't bode particularly well, does it, in terms of the targets coming through? There's a lot to not understand, and no one can really know any of this stuff. Maybe, just maybe, I'm reluctant to build a conflict between Tim Steidten and David Moyes when maybe not one exists. So, without there being some form of evidence that there's some sort of disharmony between the two of them, I don't want to overly go into that. But I think it's hard to imagine that Harvey Barnes was the Steidten pick. But by the same token, I think as a director of football who's going to want young players coming in to increase in value, he'd probably sign that off, wouldn't he? I don't know. But I don't think this Harvey Barnes one is a David Moyes issue or a Tim Steidten issue. I really don't. I think it's an ownership issue. I would put the blame squarely on nobody releasing funds. I can understand why Trip Smith maybe wouldn't. He only owns a very, very small percentage. But, maybe David Sullivan or maybe Kretinsky. I don't know. Look, maybe there's bigger plans afoot. Maybe there is. And I don't overly, as I say, want to get excited. I don't want to get all Carlos Backer on it and get disappointed over a player I never felt we were going to get. I didn't feel that was the case with Harvey Barnes, though. I felt he was a genuine target for all the reasons I've already said in this video. I felt it was viable. I felt it was reasonable. I felt it was an unrealistic target. And whilst he might not be the most amazing player in the world, I mean, if you look at the clips, that kid, is it Matias Franca from Brazil? Oh, I mean, he looks amazing. He doesn't look like him, but then again, you don't know what that guy's going to be like. Even if we did sign him, he looks brilliant. I think it'd be great if we did manage it. But it's nothing but speculation at the moment. I think, you get him with Harvey Barnes, his Premier League experience. You know he's going to work hard, and he probably fits David Moyes' system as well as he would fit the next manager's system, who that may have been. But it's a killer blow. It is not a killer blow. Again, a bit strong. It feels like a blow. Do you know what I mean? Is it going to kill us? No, I don't think it is. There's more than one left winger out in the world. And are we even in for one? A lot of people said, hold on, what about Said Benrahma? I've never really bought into that. I think Said Benrahma's never been overly guaranteed of his place in the team. I think he's grown on David Moyes, and I think he finished the season, was a hero, isn't he? Said Benrahma, let's be perfectly honest. I think it's more Maxwell Cornet is the problem. So I think you'd probably see Benrahma and Harvey Barnes fighting it out for that left wing spot. So, but maybe, just maybe, we're not going to even looking for a left winger. Maybe never was a target. I just find it hard to believe. I really do. If he wasn't a target, they've all been duped. Ex-employee and Romano and Darmashev, they've all been duped. Maybe they are. Maybe the club are doing that. Maybe the club are keeping their transfer targets so quiet and putting out a bit of misdirection. They did it last season. They absolutely did. But it still feels a bit disappointing.